When people ask me what my favorite video game is, I laugh and say it's nothing they've ever heard of. A very niche retro RPG made by the German developer Piranha Bytes called Gothic. I started playing Gothic when the Universe Edition box set was released, and my uncle gave this collection of discs to me and my brother as a gift. He was big into video games back then, huge WoW guy, and Gothic became the thing that the three of us bonded over. I didn't really play it much as a little kid, but when I was in middle school, I got my own laptop and started playing it on my own. Ever since then, Gothic has dominated the top spot of gaming for me, no contest. In all the years since experiencing this game for the first time, not one person I've known in my personal life knew what this game was before I told them about it. This shocked me, as this game has been an extremely important part of my life. This was the first game that me and my brother both loved and talked about. The Gothic series was my breakout into streaming. It's how I got my first 50 followers, and according to them, at the time, I was one of the very few American English speakers to be streaming Gothic 2, Night of the Raven, on the recently rebranded Twitch. And now, here I am, over a decade later, and I'm still talking about it. With the Gothic 1 remake release date being set for June 5th, I finally decided to make this video. Over the course of this video, I'll be playing through the version of Gothic 1 currently available on Steam, bugs and all. I'll be playing through the game in its entirety, talking about what I like and what I don't like. And hopefully some of you will even consider playing it. This video has numerous spoilers, so this is your one and only warning. And with that, here is Gothic.
The kingdom of Murtana, united by King Robar II. During the long years of his reign, he was able to defeat all foes of his realm. All except one. The war against the orcs took its toll, and the prisoners of the realm were to pay the price. The king needed swords for his army, and every man guilty of a crime, no matter how insignificant, was forced to work in the ore mines of Corinus. To make it impossible for them to escape, the king sent out the best magicians of the kingdom to create a magic barrier around the entire valley. I was one of them. Something disturbed the delicate structure of magic. We were trapped inside our own barrier. 1 second of negligence was enough for the prisoners. Corinus was now under the control of the convicts. The king had no choice. He had to negotiate. He needed the ore. Month after month, the king supplied everything the prisoners needed. Month after month, they brought the ore to the edge of the barrier in exchange. Until the present day. Another convict was brought to the cliff. He did not know, but he would change everything.
In the name of King Robar II, bearer of the scepter of Verant, I sentence this convict to...
Stop. Convict, I've got an offer to make you. This letter must reach the leader of the Magicians of Fire.
You're wasting your time.
You may choose your own reward. They'll give you anything you ask for.
Very well. I'll take your letter. On one condition. Spare me the rest of his nonsense.
How dare you?
Keep silent. Right. Send him in.
Any reward, and all he asks is to shut him up.
Welcome to the colony. That's enough. Leave him alone. And now scram! Get up.
Once the cutscene ends, you are introduced to your first friend, Diego, who tells you a little bit about the colony and gets you started on your quest. Fun fact, the voice actor for Diego is also the voice actor for Vesemir in The Witcher 3, William Roberts, who tragically passed away in 2005. R.I.P. So you start walking around the starter area, looking at items, seeing things you can interact with. The controls are pretty strange, though. You have to be looking at the thing you want to interact with. It'll highlight or show a name. You hold left control and the up arrow, and then you will begin interacting with that object. You have to keep holding control in order to continue as well. If you let go, you have to start the process over. This only becomes annoying at very specific points in the game, but we'll get to those later. It's so funny, I've done this starter area like a million times, and I've never thought to jump above the collapsed mine shaft up until about a year ago and find these monsters appear. This game really does encourage you to just go and look at something that you see off in the distance and find out what it is. It could be rewarding. It could also kill you. But I feel like there's a lot of merit in being able to convey that sense of choice to the player. Since this is a much older RPG, carry weight systems were not introduced in games like this, so this really encourages you to pick up everything you can find. And I feel like that's the best advice that I can give to a new player. Pick up everything. You don't know what it does. Find out what it does. An item that looks inconsequential could be the thing that saves you in a different situation. You never know. I would say that the weirdest thing about this game is the fact that you don't need the mouse to play it. You can beat this game start to finish with just a keyboard. And I know this because when I used to play this as a kid, I played it on my dad's old work laptop that had one of those stupid touchpads for a mouse. Movement can also be pretty janky. Falling off solid ground carries momentum. And what I mean by that is if you go to the edge of a cliff, you will launch away from the cliff an obnoxious distance and usually die from fall damage rather than dropping straight down. Be careful of this when working around narrow ledges. I have died so many times getting way too close to the ledge. So you make your way down the cliff into the valley. God, I always love this part of the game. Just the feeling of anticipation going down into the valley and exploring all of the mysteries and secrets that it has waiting for me. That's just good game design. If you can make your players have that sort of an experience 25 years after the game came out, you did something right. When you get down to the bottom, you'll meet two guys, Drax and Radford, who will give you very useful, basic information about the rules of this game and also explain kind of how combat works. Speaking of things that could kill you, let's talk about the combat. It's really primitive. Like, combat in this game is done strictly with the arrow keys and the control key. I don't know any other game that has combat that works like that. To explain further, there's a rhythm to the combat in this game. Like with anything else, hold left control to lock on, then you use your directional arrows to do your 3 different attacks. Attacking forward allows you to combo, and it also causes you to step forward a little bit as you attack, and left and right are attacks that you can use to stay in place, and you typically alternate them in order to increase your attack speed. The down arrow causes you to block. This is only effective against orcs, skeletons, inhumans, and other humanoid creatures like that. Pretty sure that's actually the only humanoid creatures in this game, but whatever. I should also mention that you can only really do those combo attacks once you get your first level in one-handed fighting. Combat falls mostly into 2 categories: weapons fighting and monster fighting. Monsters can't be blocked, so fighting very aggressively and landing your combos is most important. When you hit an enemy, they'll have this brief period of stagger from being hit, and if you chain your attacks correctly, the monsters will never get a chance to hit you. Second is the aforementioned weapon users like orcs, humans, and skeletons. Fighting these guys is less about rushing them down with combos and more about finding openings. Both combat styles are rewarding in their own way, and having these different approaches keeps things from getting too boring too quickly. Now I know what you're thinking. A combat system like this is very abnormal and of its time. but I feel like the fact that the combat system is so different is what gives Gothic a very unique identity in the way that you play it. In addition to fighting mechanics against animals, Drax will teach you the single most important skills for earning money, which is ore in this game, trophies from animals. Animals can drop a whole host of special items that you sell to get ore, from raw meat to claws to fire lizard tongues. We will talk about fire lizards later. It does cost a couple hundred ore and some skill points to get these skills, but spending that early ore and skill points to get these skills as soon as possible will yield the most significant returns for investment. Get these ASAP. Also, the loot goblin in you will just be very happy. Anyways, after talking to these guys for a little bit, you kill a few more monsters for the XP, and you get your first level up. Leveling up in Gothic gives you two things: more max health, 12 points every level, and 10 skill points, which we can allocate anywhere you want, provided we have the right trainers, and enough ore to pay for some of the fees. These points will be used to get you various skills like harvesting animal trophies, and improving your other abilities and stats like mana, strength, and dexterity. It's a good idea to just hold on to your skill points until you figure out what you want to spend them on. Getting as much XP as you can at any stage of the game will always pay off. This is part of the charm that I feel Gothic has. All of this stuff isn't just ham-fisted into your ears. It all feels like it's learned naturally. The nameless hero, you, the player, wind up in this colony, and on the way to the main hub area, there are these characters who notice you are new to this world, quote unquote, and they offer you just a little bit of advice. But even beyond that, they're willing to extort you for money for the skills they have to offer. It feels real. This is a mining colony where a bunch of convicts got sent here against their will. It feels like a living, breathing world. You know, originally I was going to go on this long diatribe about Skyrim, but I feel like it's not even right to compare this sort of game to Skyrim. I mean, it came out 10 years before it. Questing structure was not the same back then as it is now. There was no such thing as a repeatable quests or anything like that. It was just your set number of quests, set number of goals, and that's it. As soon as you did all those things, you did everything there was to do in the game. And I feel like those kinds of games are much more enjoyable. Things like Cyberpunk, things like Dragon Age Origins. I feel having a set of fewer, more detailed quests is much more satisfying. Once you arrive into the old camp, most people won't tell you much more than any general NPC would. Very useless filler small talk. Go and talk to Diego near the inner gate. He'll tell you to go talk to Thoris in front of the gate, who is rocking some of the coolest looking armor in probably this whole series. Like, honestly, it is so cool, and I was so excited to potentially get this when I first started playing this game. I unfortunately have bad news in that you can't get it. Once you talk to him and experience the silky yet gravelly pipes of this Chad of a man, he will immediately become one of your favorite characters. He gets even better in the sequel DLC too. Regardless, he tells you about two things: taking the test to join the old camp and to get rid of a guy named Mordrag, who is your guide to getting to the new camp. To put it simply, you have to gain favor with each faction to be able to join them. This is done by doing minor and major quests for each group. Once you reach enough reputation with each group, you'll gain the option to join them. You can just speedrun joining the old camp, but it's probably a good idea to get yourself acquainted with each of the camps before you decide. There really isn't much difference between them, narratively, mostly just armor styles until the end of the game at least. After talking to Thoris, you're pretty much free to explore the world. Talk to characters, learn the rules, go out into the wilds. This is by far the most open-ended part of this game. Like, literally, you can go almost anywhere, so why not? Start walking around. Walking around the old camp, you can find Mordrag, who you can quote-unquote bully into taking you to the new camp. There's also another character, Bal Parvez, who could be your guide to the sect camp. Now, while you can do either of these things right now, I do recommend gaining some XP from the old camp and fighting the monsters outside the old camp. Pretty much all you can reasonably fight at this point is scavengers and mole rats. You won't really be able to fight stronger stuff until you get that better weapon. Getting a better weapon can be kind of frustrating here in the beginning if you aren't familiar with this game, but that's why I'm here. If you find or buy a piece of raw steel from the smith Huno, you can use the 4 interactive stations in this order: furnace, anvil, bucket, grindstone. This will turn your raw steel into a crude sword, which does 20 damage with a 20 strength requirement. It's cheap and the strongest thing you'll get for now. It's also a good way to exploit the merchants. Raw steel costs 40 ore, but you can sell a crude sword to any merchant for 50 ore. It's tedious, but it's a free way to get some extra money. Once you have enough ore and a couple of skill points to go back to Drax from before, get those hunting skills and then use the rest of your skills on other things. All right, the other skills. So there's several things you can do with your skill points. Like I said before, strength, dex, and mana are increases that you can do. You could do sword fighting skills, sneaking, lockpicking, and pickpocketing. I can tell you right now, lockpicking is the easiest method to get rich quick, besides the hunting skills. And after that, your fighting skills are most important for unlocking the better combos for fighting. I haven't really done much with sneaking or pickpocketing, but hey, give it a shot. Trust me, by the end of this game, you're going to have an excess of skill points. And that's also something we'll talk about a little later. I feel I should mention at this point, while ranged combat is viable and usually pretty effective in this game, near the end of Gothic 1, it definitely steers you into melee combat, especially with the power of the endgame weapon, and even more specifically, two-handed weapons. Either way, up until then, it is an effective and safer way to fight smaller groups of enemies if you don't feel like you have the combo system down yet. Since this is an older game, autosave is not a function, so that should be a reminder to save often. You won't know if you can fight something unless you try to fight it. So whenever you want to try fighting a new creature, just save the game, save yourself the trouble of being set back and having to do long stretches of the game all over again. After you've gotten a little bit stronger, you can talk to Parvez and Mordrag and they will guide you to their camps, where you'll meet a bunch of new characters and get more quests. Again, it really is up to you who you join. I think canonically, the Nameless Hero joins the new camp, but I always prefer the Sect camp because I'm a sucker for the swampy temple aesthetic. By the way, if you ask to be led to the camps, you need to commit to walking with them. Otherwise, if you ask to be shown where the camp is and you leave them halfway through, they will just respawn at the end of the scripted path like this. And you'll have to fight through or evade the monsters in between camps that they would have helped you fight. It's not really an issue for me because I've played through this game and beat it half a dozen times and know the map like the back of my hand. After you've explored the camps and gotten yourself acquainted with each group, I recommend doing the quest of getting the list from the old mine. This is a major location that you'll come back to a little later in the game, and depending on what you do during this quest will determine if you can join the old or new camp. The Sect camp quests are not tied to the old mine in this early stage of the game, but it feels natural to explore the mine anyway. Something to note, for those of you that want to join the Sect camp, the quests they have you do are somewhat tied to each other. Like the reward for one quest is a sleep scroll, which is an item you specifically need for another quest to join the Sect camp. This is the kind of questing structure that I love, when the developer can give their player that aha moment after figuring out their intentions, small progression puzzles to be solved by the player, like being served a Michelin star meal by Gordon Ramsay. Mwah. For those of you that want to join the new camp, you'll encounter a guy named Lefty that will tell you to give water to the peasants. You really only need to do this one time. And then after that, just be out of Lefty's interaction range to avoid him. Otherwise, Lefty will force you to do it every time you come to the new camp and be hostile to you if you refuse. And he always has backup. I won't tell you exactly how to join each camp because I feel it's a very rewarding experience to figure it out on your own, but I feel it important to tell you these couple of things. They were extremely frustrating for me when I first played, so I'll save you the trouble. Now I know I'm explaining a lot of these systems a lot up front, but the first chapter is by far the largest portion of this game, and it makes a lot more sense to explain these things before you get into the later portions. But let's get into the plot. That's why we're all here, right? At this point, I've convinced enough of the influential people in the Sect camp to join them. I go and talk to the second in command, Kor Kalam, and he gives me some new armor. It is at this point that all the plot lines will converge onto a single main quest. If you join the other two camps, they will send you to the Sect camp to get an update on what's going on with them. If you join to the Sect camp the next time you walk by Lester, also a friend that follows you into future games, he'll give you a quest to talk to the leader of the sect camp, Yberian. Welcome to Chapter 2. So we go and talk to the guy in the big temple, and he tells us we need an item called a magical focus. However, the last guy he sent to retrieve the artifact never came back. So our job is to go there, figure out what happened, and bring back the focus. Before we do this, however, there is a short detour that you should probably make. Kort Kalam gave us a quest to give a shipment of swampweed to Gomez. Not because we need to meet Gomez, but because this is the quest that gets us past Thoris, which gets us the opportunity to talk to the fire magicians, the original quest that we were given when we started this whole game. Once we're inside, we can meet another one of the characters that becomes our friends in this game, Milton. In this game, he is a rookie fire magician and is the one who delivers the scroll to the leader of the fire magicians for you. After doing this, go ahead and head to that location above the sect camp that Yberian sent you to. Once you're there, you'll come upon a novice who... So, originally when I came upon this scene at editing, I was going to do an audio gag so that you could hear the charming but ridiculous voice acting that is in this game. However, half the footage that I recorded without audio. I have no idea why this happened. I assume that it just has to do with whether or not I was recording with headphones or just through my speakers. I don't know. Anyways, he starts ranting about being the chosen one by the sleeper, and then he tries to kill you. But as long as you have your first level in one-handed fighting and a few levels under your belt, you'll be fine. Once you kill him, loot this goofball and take the focus stone. Take the stone back to Yberian, and he doesn't want the responsibility, so he goes and tells you to take it to Kort Kalam. I'm sure this won't backfire. If you want a bit more lore, you can continue talking to Yberian, and he will tell you that the power of the sleeper can be overwhelming to those who are not trained to withstand his voice, and a weak-minded individual like a novice will be driven insane by its sheer power. Huh, that's weird that talking to a benevolent god would drive someone insane. I'm sure there's nothing to worry about. When you take the focus to Kalam, he says he needs just one more thing for the ritual. Minecrawler secretions. But not just any secretions. Secretions from a minecrawler egg. Do you like it when I say the word secretions? Good. Because I think it's the last time that I'm going to say it. Minecrawlers. One of the most iconic monsters of the Gothic series. And honestly, one of my personal favorites in this game. Big, monstrous ant creatures that live underground and form massive hives. Well, as far as you know at this point in the game, there is only one place where you've heard people talk about mine crawlers. The old mine. Also, I'm sure at this point, if you even made it this far, modern gamers would just quit out of frustration due to the lack of fast traveling and constant running back and forth. And you know what? That's fair. But it always brought more focus into planning out where you were going to go adventure off to and what you were going to do while there. I think that Gothic 2 ends up building its quest structure to reward this playstyle more than Gothic 1 does. It's kind of a shame that there's less emphasis put on this playstyle nowadays. I mean, shoot, we've had fast traveling in popular video games for the last 20 years at this point. Now you gotta toggle fast travel off, like with Skyrim or Fallout 4's survival mode. But the game isn't built to favor this style of gameplay, and you will be running back and forth all over the place, even if you do plan your routes. Like, I'm even doing a survival Skyrim run right now on normal difficulty, and it is tedious. It takes a really long time. I do enjoy the experience because I like the increased difficulty, but that game is not built to be a walkable city. Gothic feels like it is built around this, where fast traveling is super convenient, but nothing is out of walking distance. But I digress. So before you make your way to the old mine, it's best to check with all the merchants you know that have a significant stock of gear, because their stock has now changed with the transition to Chapter 2. Guys like Fisk, Wolf, Kronos, Balnamib, their stores will update to account for the progression in the game, and you can get much better gear. You will need a better weapon when fighting the minecrawlers, or have a lot of point in your weapon's stats in order to deal enough damage to kill them. Okay, I guess I should sidetrack again really briefly to explain how damage works. It's the weapon's damage stat, like a crude sword's strength, plus its damage number. So if you have 50 strength and you're using a crude sword, it's strength plus the weapon's inherent damage stat against the enemy's armor stat, and that's your damage. So if the enemy had 50 armor, well, you would only be doing 20 damage. Make sense? Good, because I'm not explaining it again. By the way, I don't know what the armor stat of Minecrawlers is in the game, but just get your total damage above 70 per hit and you'll be fine in the cave. Once you've got all your gear updated as much as you can, head on over to the old mine and make your way down. There you can talk to the mine boss, Ian, and say why you're here. He sends you on a useless fetch quest to get a gear wheel so that the Crusher can get back to work. The gear wheel is down this path and is guarded by a few Minecrawlers. Once you have it, go back and give the gear wheel to Ian. Continue making your way to the bottom and deeper into the mine past the big ore mound by the forge. Eventually you'll come to a gate where a guy named Ashkan, who will be guarding it, saying this way is closed to high numbers of excessively carnivorous arthropods. He won't unlock the gate until you bring him 2 to 3 Templars to help fight the mine crawlers that are going to come out. You can grab up to 3 of them, so just grab all 3. Oh, you can only get the ones who are named. I hated this part of the quest specifically because these dickweeds will walk to the gate. And I mean like leisurely stroll. It is nauseating how slow they walk. After waiting until the next leap year, all the Templars will have arrived and you can now ask Ashkan to open the gate. Be ready, because once you open the gate, there will be a horde of minecrawlers ready to pour out. This is where all your combat experience comes in handy, kids, as it gets dicey. Oh, only the kills you get give you experience, so if you just let the Templars do it, you get nothing. I died on my first and second attempts at this, but the third time, the AI just kind of, I don't know, it just gives out and pretty much just sets up the minecrawlers single file in a conga line to fight me, so I get most of the kills in the end. You're probably wondering, Extra, why is your footage so dark? Turn up the brightness. It is up. The lighting down here is just that terrible. If you can't stand it, bring torches and drop them on the ground, like I did. Once the initial horde is dealt with, it's pretty much smooth sailing from here. You'll still fight some minecrawlers, but isolated individuals rather than a horde. So you make your way in and find a cave with some interesting lighting, and it's the first boss of the game, the Minecrawler Queen. As long as you overpower her armor, this boss fight is the easiest thing you'll fight in this game, as she doesn't move and you can stun lock her with melee attacks. With her dead, collect the eggs and head back to Kor Kalam, and then he sends you on another mission, a fetch quest. You know, fetch quests used to be so fun when I was a kid. What the heck happened? He tells you to go get an almanac that the novice Talus lost in a convoy to a bunch of goblins. Talus is hanging out on the temple grounds, so look for him there. He will then lead you to where the book was taken. He does have some dialogue about you smirking about how he got jumped by goblins, but make no mistake, these goblins are tough, fast, and attack you in very large groups. The best way to deal with them is to shoot from afar and lure them onto the bridge. Their AI will sometimes glitch out, and some of them will just jump off the bridge into the water below. There are still more in the cave. Just fight them one at a time and save before each fight. After that's done, explore the cave to find the almanac and bring it back to Kor Kalam. Finally, it's time for the ritual. Wait until night, and then head to the temple grounds, and a cutscene will begin.
The long time of waiting is now over. Through his immeasurable powers, the Sleeper has led us to this place so we can witness his awakening. The artifact he showed us in a vision will focus our spiritual powers. Unite your thoughts so the Sleeper will hear our prayers, for his is the path that leads to freedom, and we are his chosen people. May the Sleeper awaken!
Master. What has happened?
Yes, Master. What has happened? What have you seen?
He wanted to show us the way to freedom.
Yes, what about it?
Was it the path to freedom?
Dude, the voice acting is just...
It is our
It's not good. But honestly, back in the early 2000s, voice acting was pretty abysmal on its own.
us a place. We must find it. Not far from here, there is an entry to an orc cave. We'll start searching there. The sleeper will be with us.
What does that mean? Shall we fight these monsters?
I'll go with the Templars. You novices shall pray for us.
And so begins Chapter 3. After the cutscene ends, talk to Korangar, who tells you to go check out the Orc Cemetery nearby, because he saw it in the vision and thinks the answers are there. It's only now that I realize that this whole cutscene was just a mass gathering to go on a psychedelic trip together. But you were the only sober one. So you go and talk to that Talus guy again, and he walks you to a bridge you've passed 100 times and says the Orc Cemetery is across the bridge. Before going in, we just entered a new chapter. Check out those merchants again for new gear. Hopefully at this point you've been looting and have tons of things to sell or have already been sold. Also, each of your faction people should be able to give you your new armor. I'm Sect Camp, so I picked Templar Path. Base Templar armor looks pretty plain, but the step up to medium is peak. So we head back to the Orc Cemetery, where you'll meet some new monsters and the primary enemies in the Gothic games, the Orcs. The Orcs aren't going to be too tough yet. Most of these are the weaker orcs, but for seasoned Gothic 1 players, you know you're him if you can start fighting orcs. So we open the skull door and head on into the cemetery. Walking inside, you'll start seeing Templars getting cut down by the orcs, which is honestly a really cool set piece to just have these badass soldiers being low diffed by the weakest orcs. Here's a tip for those of you struggling at this point but need a boost. All around this first room are cages that have mummified orcs in them. If you loot these orcs, many of them have high quality potions, rings, and spell scrolls in them. There are hidden switches around the room that open up the cages, take everything your sticky little fingers can hold on to. So you make your way deeper into the cave and find Bal Lucor getting jumped by orcs. Save this schmuck and he will follow you around to progress through the cave. You need to go down the few passages to find 2 pieces of paper that are part of an incantation that needs to be spoken. One piece here, and one here. Once we have these, go down the fancy passageway into the room with the armored orc in it. Once you walk around for a little bit, Bal Lucor walks up to you in a hurry like... He then walks up to a door that looks like it moves. And you talk to him again and he says to use the teleport scroll here. I'm in. Open the door and walk down the passage to an altar, and Lucor will start losing his mind and start praying to the sleeper. There was going to be a little gag here where I talk to him as he's talking to me, like we're having a conversation, but the fucking audio didn't record. I promise this will be fixed in the next video. Please be gentle. It's my first time making a video. So Lucor goes mad and we just dust the goofball because we're just built different. Finish looting everything and head back to Korangar. We're done here. We get back to the swamp and update Angar on the situation. Yeah, so your guy tried to kill me? And Korangar is like, yeah, we should wake up Iberian. This is not good. Get him some healing herbs in the swamp. And now to introduce another one of my favorite monsters, swamp sharks, which are like giant cuttlefish lamprey monsters. Looking close, they don't seem to have any eyes either. Truly terrifying. Honestly, these guys are too strong right now. Just avoid them. We'll be back later. Get 5 of the big healing plants, the ones that have the 4 brown and 4 green leaves, and bring them to Angar. Angar tells you Iberian woke up for a little bit and told him, oh, the sleeper is a bad, bad dude, it turns out. Who would have guessed? So he ends up giving an at-home remedy made out of these healing plants to Iberian and ends up killing him in the process. To be fair, when I was a kid, I was shocked at this revelation. He also says the backup plan was to side with the water mages, and that Christopher Columbus ran off crying because his headcanon of the sleeper was being called into question. I just noticed while watching back this footage that you can actually get the medium Templar armor before you go and retrieve the healing plants. Just a little thing. So after we're done talking, it's off to the water mages! Oh yeah, and Ingar gives us a teleport rune to the swamp. Neat. Fast travel unlocked. Sort of. There's only 4 of these runes in the game, 1 to each camp and 1 to a different location, but we will get to that. This doesn't totally solve the problem, but you can now buy speed potions in bulk from any of the potion vendors, so those plus the runes makes things alright for the most part in terms of fast travel. As we make our way into the new camp, we run into one of our companions that you new camp players will have met by now, Gorn. Big, badass, and just a general bro.
You son of a bitch.
We tell him that we've got an important message for the water mages, and he tells us to talk to Satiras as he's the leader. But first, we gotta talk to Kronos. We tell him all the bad news, and he's like, oh shit, yeah, go talk to the boss mage. So we go up to Satiras and tell him the bad news, and he's like, oh, fuck, and the conversation ends. It's at this point that I pause and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Did I just softlock the game? Did I forget something? Yes, I did. Cor Angard tells us to take the almanac and the focus in Cor Kalam's chest to Satiras. Kids, do not make the same mistake I did and pick these up before coming to the new camp. This brings us to the second half of Chapter 3. This is the last time that the game is really open-ended and allows you to do things in the order that you want. I think that there's kind of an order to go in, so some of the dialogue lands better. I'll explain it in a second. So Satiras are like, we need the other 4 focuses. We want to blow the barrier, like, soon. So we go off to get the other 4 focuses from 4 locations on the map. He also gives us a map that shows us where they are, and would you look at that, it forms a star. So I head to the one closest to the swamp camp first, because that's the one I've always done first, and is the second easiest out of the 4 in my opinion. Oh, by the way, make sure you have like a hammer or a mace weapon with you. You'll need it. So we head up to the location and encounter some interesting looking enemies called bloodhounds. They're big and fast, but not very threatening and just kind of meh. Cool design though. We walk up to the bridge and you cannot damage this thing if you have a sword or a bow. You need a hammer-like weapon. Once it's dead, you keep walking and oh look, it's Lester. After talking to Lester, he says he wants to find the deed to the fort because he really has nothing better to do at this time and says he will help you clear the area of enemies if you help him find the deed. This area has the worst enemy in all of the Gothic series, more so than even fire lizards, harpies. They are loud, annoying, and a pain to try to fight most of the time. Turn down your volume when you fight them. No, for real. The audio is mixed terribly for them. They are almost certainly going to hurt your ears if you're wearing headphones. So you loot the whole fort and you can actually see where the focus stone is, but you can't reach it. If you have your own telekinesis scrolls, you can use it to move the focus to a closer location. If not, just find the deed and give it to Lester. He'll give you the scrolls. Once you have it, teleport using the scroll that Satiras gave you to get back to him quickly. You'll repeat this for each focus stone you collect. So there are 3 other locations. Each of these locations will have one of your friends at them who will help you complete the task. Milton is located in the Orklands at a crypt where you have to use a magic scroll he gives you to kill the zombie. It is otherwise unkillable. Once you kill everything, loot the room to find the focus. This is the easiest of the 4. Gorn is located in the northeast at some ruins where you'll need to fight tons of snappers. This is probably the hardest due to the sheer number of snappers and the surprise at the end. Explore around and you'll find the focus stone in a chest down a long pathway. After you get this, don't teleport back yet. Just go back to Gorn. It's at this point a juvenile troll will spawn and you and Gorn can take it down. Just keep attacking him and do not get hit. They hit like freight trains, and if the punch doesn't kill you, the fall damage from it will. It's probably the actual hardest thing you've fought so far. In the final of these 4 quests, you'll meet up with Diego in the north. You have to fight over a dozen black goblins and an adult troll. The reason why I think this one is intended last is because Gorn jokes after you kill the little troll that he would hate to meet one of its parents. Well, here you go. Catch is you can't hurt it until you use the shrink monster scroll that's laying nearby to weaken it. This will make the troll killable and pretty trivial. Finally, turn the winch in the back and go up the path that is unlocked to find the focus. Oh no! Anyways, get the focus, talk to Diego, and bounce out of here back to Sodaris. Congrats, you got all the focus stones. Oh, and for those of you that noticed, I didn't break the pillar in the area with Gorn to get the chest. I tried it didn't work. See? The chest isn't even worth it, so I wouldn't bother. So you talk to Sodaris, and he says you'll get a bunch of rewards from Riordian and Kronos for completing this quest. However, he asks you for one more favor. Go talk to the Magicians of Fire to convince them to help with the destruction of the barrier. He gives you a teleport stone to give to the High Magician of Fire, Caristo, so that he can teleport to the Water Mages. And so begins Chapter 4. The game really shortens up at this point, so it's gonna go kinda fast. So at this point, you need to make your way to the old camp to talk to the Fire Mages. If you enter through the front gate, you'll encounter Milton. If you go through the back gate, it'll be Diego. Regardless, the old camp is locked down. Basically, the old mine caved in. They hit an underground river and it caused the entire thing to cave in. Gomez. Oh yeah, he's the leader of the old camp. They talked about him a few times throughout the game, but he's not really that important. The silly guy got a funny idea in his head and decided to raid the free mine and assassinate all the fire magicians. Ha! What a silly little goofball. By the way, the free mine is the new camp's ore mine. Well, after doing this, he locked down the old camp and nobody can get in anymore. Now we need to go back to Sodaris to talk to him. Before doing that, upgrade your gear, since Fisk is no longer an option in the old camp. He is replaced by Scorpio, who is camped out near Cavalorn now. He defected and took a bunch of gear with him. Also, you only get the final faction armor if you join the new camp or sect camp. Since this is the point in the game where you can get the armor, but the old camp is locked down, so no cool Thoris armor for us. So you go back to Sodaris and he's like, oh fuck, and asks us to seek a necromancer named Zardis, who lives in the orc lands of the colony. Before you do, go into the library and read the books. For those of you that don't want to do this, Zardis' tower is guarded by 3 golems: stone, ice, fire. Head towards the orc lands to find Zardis' tower. Just look for a large, menacing tower. You'll find a path that leads to it that has our anticipated golems. They all have specific weaknesses. You know the stone golems, so that's easy enough. Ice golem, you need some fire scrolls, and should be fairly easy as you would have looted enough fire scrolls at this point to cover it if you didn't spec into magic. Oh, that's another thing. In each of the factions, you can join the mages to learn rune magic and get their armor. Pretty cool stuff. I like the magic in this game, but it can be pretty difficult, as you are at the mercy of your mana pool. Maybe it'd be worth it to do a stream of it at some point. Anyways, the fire golem is weak to only lightning, not ice like the book says. Don't make my mistake and try to use ice block on the fire golem. It does not work. Grab a fair amount of lightning spells. Take them each down one at a time and head into the tower where you'll meet a friend. Aside from the fact that this is one of my favorite demon designs in gaming, this dialogue exchange is pretty ridiculous in retrospect. What's that, boy? You said Zardis fell down the well? So the demon asks for the pieces of the golems we killed, and then he teleports us up to the top floor of the tower, and we talk to the big scary mage himself, Zardis. Well, once we do this, we are to investigate some ruins up near the mountain fort where we've found the golem on the bridge. This idea that we are about to see, I feel, is one of the most underutilized ideas in this game, and honestly this series as a whole. So we get to the ruins and find more orcs, but this time we are much stronger. Mow down these orcs and you'll find them attacking a shaman. After defeating them all, the shaman will speak. This is Urshak. Can we just talk about how awesome his character model is? The textures that are his body look so striking and colorful, even without the quality filter I applied to help the night scenes. When you play this game yourself, it's not that horribly dark, I promise. So we talk to Urshak and he's like,
hey, you want to get into the town? That's cool, but you gotta get this beast totem before they'll let you in. I got a buddy. He's trapped in the free mine. He can make you one.
So head on back to the new camp, and before heading back around the big cave to the mine, talk to Wolf. He'll tell you about this cool new idea he has for armor. And he'll ask you to collect some minecrawler plates from the minecrawlers in the mine. These minecrawlers are different and much tougher. Not too tough for you, but tougher by comparison. Well, not only are you going to need to fight the minecrawlers, some of the boys from the new camp are fixing to take back the mine. Gorn included. Actually, it's just gonna be you and Gorn. The rest of the guys just stay back trying to hype themselves up mentally for it and never get around to helping you. Thanks, guys. So you make your way down the path and wind up at the free mine. Tons of dead mercenaries and scrapers all over the place, and a few guards. That shouldn't be too much trouble. However, the next part, in my opinion, is the most difficult but not broken fight in this game. This cave entrance is actually difficult. Within the mechanics of the game, the heavy guard charges you with melee, while the other three are positioned evenly around the room, peppering you with ranged attacks. I died several times just trying to get through this fight. There are some sections of this game that do seem pretty unfair, but I can't fault the devs for this encounter. Nobody is using any BS tactics to kill you. All enemies are placed in easy to access locations. Nobody is using overpowered weapons or armor. No exploitations like stun locking or anything. Now it's just you and your ability to play this game. This fight was so frustrating to me while I was recording, but it's only now when I'm writing this that I can look back at this footage and say, you know, actually, this is a really good fight. Also, when you knock guys down with a melee weapon, they don't die. They just drop to the ground for a little bit before getting back up, so you will need to either kill them with a bow or stab them with a sword while they're on the ground. You cannot do this with axes or maces, you need a sword. You push through the rest of the mine, killing all the guys from the old camp, finding a few of these beefy mine crawlers as well and gathering their plates. Something looks odd about these mine crawlers. They're starting to not look very bug-like. I don't know, they just look otherworldly to me. You get to the end of the mine where you'll find an orc hiding on a platform. Talk to him and he will explain that you need to get several items before he can make the peace totem, or Ulumulu. I'll never not say it like that. I don't know why. It's like this vocal tick or something. I'm just like emulating how the orcs say it. You would already know that if the fucking audio worked. Anyways, he says you need 4 things. Horn of a shadow beast, tongue of a fire lizard, teeth of a swamp shark, and tooth of a troll. Once you complete this 4-part fetch quest, he will give you the Ulumulu. As we are leaving the mine, we can let Gordon know it's all cleared out, and he will say he will stay here and guard the mine. You know, maybe it's all the nostalgia I have for this game, but I think Gorn actually could protect this mine on his own. Before going and grabbing all of these items, go talk to Wolf and give him the crawler plates, and while you're out hunting, he will work on the armor. So now it's time to clear out any enemies you may have not fought yet in this game. Your job is to search the whole map for these creatures and bring back these parts. I think I can be pretty critical of the game at this point, as I've been hyping it up for nearly 25 pages of script. The game kind of falls off here. Like I'm sure you've noticed, I haven't talked about any cool side quests or little secret locations to check out in this game that have cool loot. Well, that's because there are very few side quests after Chapter 2, and there isn't a lot on this map to explore. Sure, there are little stylized areas of the forest and sections of the rivers and such. There is this tower that I do feel is pretty fun to go and clear, as there's tons of skeletons and a neat little mine maze underneath it, and a mini-boss of a skeleton mage at the bottom. But there isn't a quest related to this area. You're just supposed to come here out of your own volition to check it out. But there isn't really a reason to come here other than to get more loot and experience. I think that's where Gothic 1 can become stale for a lot of people. The game feels so deep once you start your adventure and have all this unexplored map and numerous side quests, but at this point you're so strong that most everything cannot stand up to you. It becomes a power fantasy. I do feel like Gothic 2 does fix this problem as it continues to throw harder and harder enemies at you until the very end. And this extends into Night of the Raven as well. So for those of you that want to just cut to the chase and find these beasts without exploring the map at this point, I understand. I still did it, but I don't blame you. With all that being said, that feeling of being unstoppable, of being able to take on anything that the map can throw at you, it feels earned. You've already died again and again and again stress testing this game, learning from each and every experience that you had, and applying all those lessons that you've learned to turn you into the unstoppable hero that you never asked to be. That feeling is the essence of what I think makes Gothic a great video game. So tracking down these monsters is pretty easy. The orc in the cave gives you hints as well. Swamp sharks can only be found in the swamp and are pretty easy. The deep water is annoying to deal with, but they shouldn't be too much trouble. The Shadow Beast is a lot like the Bloodhounds we fought in Chapter 3, just with better stats and a way better design. Poster monster for Gothic 1, even though there aren't that many in this game. Don't worry, there's many more in Gothic 2. A new troll has shown up where you and Diego fought the last one, except this time there is no shrink spell and no Diego to pull aggro. Just you and the troll. A good fight. Stay close to him and keep up the attacks and he will go down. Finally. Oh man. The fire lizards. I think I could summarize fire lizards with a simple Reddit thread that I found a few years back. Fire lizards are absolute horseshit. They have as much health as any other monster at this point in the game and have this fire breath attack that procs like a dozen times in a couple of seconds that no matter how much fire resistance you have, it will kill you before you can process what just happened. I think that the damage proccing has something to do with the frame rate. The only reason I think this is because in Gothic 2 on modern systems, some bosses in the game have health regeneration that is confirmed to be tied to the frame rate, and they're nearly unkillable unless you download a mod that caps out your frame rate. I'm not sure though. Just use magic or cheese strats like getting high and using a bow. I got exceptionally lucky here and was able to kill them without having to do either of these things. I promise you, this has never happened to me in any of my playthroughs. Once you have all these monster parts, head back to the free mine to get the Ulumulu, and then out to Wolf to get the crawler plate armor. Now head to Zardis and give him the update. He shoos you out of his tower to go to the orc town and proceed into the temple pretty quickly. Before you enter the orc town, make sure to be wearing the Ulumulu. Otherwise, all the orcs will be hostile and you cannot fight all of them on your own. Yet. You can explore the town to get a little extra loot, but let's be honest, your character is so beefed out of his mind at this point that it doesn't really matter. Use the teleport scroll given by Zardis at the huge gate and you'll teleport past it and be able to enter the temple. Okay, there's this funny thing that happens when I do teleport. Some of the orcs end up seeing me behind the gate and try to attack me, but end up hitting each other. 2 of them die. Just some silly AI stuff that amuses me about this game. So you enter the orc temple. This area in here is massive and where you'll spend the majority of the rest of your time in this game. It is full of orcs, undead, mine crawlers. Mine crawlers, that's weird. And the occasional demon. There are several puzzle rooms in this dungeon that you need to complete in order to progress. And to be honest, instructions are not clear most of the time. Maybe I'm just brain dead from all the medication I took as a child, but seriously, it's rough. So I'll try to show and explain them as succinctly as possible. Ready? Let's do this. Come over to this wall and see these 3 symbols. Head to the doorway blocked by stone and hit the switch. Kill the Skeleboys that come out to try to get the drop on you. Hit the switches in the room they came from and proceed. Turn all 3 stone pillars in the correct order and all the gates in the previous room will open. Go through the top gates, kill the skeletons and the mage, and go down the cave to the right to fight your first temple guard. They're just undead orcs, nothing special. Head into the next room with more turning pillars and fight the demons as they come out. They've got lots of health, move really fast, and will chunk through your armor. Kill them quick. After you turn the final pillar, an undead orc shaman will spawn. Kick his rotting teeth back into his skull and take his sword. This is a key and is used to open the doors in this temple. Stick the sword in the sword slot on the ground and proceed back to the main chamber. Run across the room to the gated doorway and hit the switch. Kill the orc and turn the switch to the left. Go back to the main room, down the path where you killed the skeleton mage and fight the undead shaman in here. Careful, he can stun lock you. Grab sword, stab in hole. Back to main room, now climb the pillars that lowered earlier. Kill orc, hit switch, walk, door opens, dialogue, kill shaman, pull out your ranged weapon and shoot the target that your character should auto-lock to, jump down the hole, hit the switch, jump out, leave the chamber, go down the tunnel, to the right before jumping down, kill orcs, jump down new path, kill mine crawlers, shoot target from outside the room with the scary floor. When the gate opens, go in, wait for the door to open, shoot a second switch, other gates will open, turn the pillars in this order, red, yellow, blue. Go talk to the Templar, who you'll notice is not quite himself. Kill him, he's possessed. Go down the pathway, kill more Templars and Orcs, head into the hallway, see big lava room, head to first room, kill demons, turn pillar, run back, next room, more demons, another pillar, and head back out again, next room, again, kill demons again, turn pillar, watch the cutscene, go to the bridge that has now appeared, cross it, go around the hut to the opening in the side, fight the shaman, loot him, and then pick up the strange sword on the altar. You need it. Back to the previous chamber with the Templars and the Orcs. Go down this path, die to some dumb Templar cheesing you, go loot the stuff you tried looting before some phantom fire kills you. Again. This happened like 3 times. Jump across platforms to the center platform with pillar, turn, pillar, go down, wade through this annoying waist-high water area, get stuck. What the fuck? Turn the pillar on the right, watch the fucking cutscene, turn pillar on left, cutscene, mine crawlers. God damn it. This was such a tedious part of this game. I know I did this Cliff Notes gag because there was just lots to get through, and the script is already, oh my god, it's 29 pages long. But this area is super cool and interesting with lots of little things to find scattered about and some small lore bits. It's really worth exploring. It's a shame that this level of detail wasn't all over the place. Hey, maybe the Gothic remake will add tons of little details to the overworld. Comes out in like a week, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Why the hell is this remake $50? Wade back through the water, hit the switch, wait for the elevator, go up, kill the Templars, Orcs, and demons all blocking your path, and come to the bridge. The final Orc shaman briskly walks up to you and then pretty much tells you, yeah, it's nap time, do not disturb, and tells you to go back the way you came. You cannot kill this guy. He is invulnerable at this point. It's now that you need to take that strange sword out of this temple back to Xardus. So I think I accidentally skipped the transition to chapter 5. I realized that the transition to chapter 5 actually happened before we entered the Orc temple. When you take the sword back to Xardus by teleporting, he says it's magic and that he needs to prepare a spell to release its full potential once again. And that you need to explore his old tower in the meantime to retrieve some special armor. His old tower is in the middle of the lake nearby, and you'll need to go inside and swim through the underwater tunnel to get to the armor. There's lots of zombies in here, so be careful. Once you have the armor and the rest of the loot, teleport back to Xardus. He tells you that you need a massive amount of magical power to recharge the sword. And the only place where you can get that level of magical energy right now is the ore mound in the new camp. And that by doing this, it will drain all of the ore of its magical power. This will cause the entirety of the new camp to become hostile to you. So if there is anything you want to do it before completing this quest. You will not get another chance. So you teleport to the water mages and find Milton here. Talk to him as he is the only one alive who can reasonably perform the ritual without being too conspicuous. Wait an actual eternity for Milton to make his way down to the ore mound and watch the cutscene. I love that smirk that he does at the end. Once you've finished the ritual, Milton comments on how the sword has been restored to its original power. It's at this point that you are nearly the strongest you can become in this game. The last thing you can do is optional, but I did it just for completion's sake. Remember that teleport to the Fire Magician's rune? I think it's about time we check up on Gomez and see what he's been up to. You teleport into the Fire Magician's house inside the old camp, and some guys are waiting for you. The entire old camp is hostile to you, remember? Save for one guy in the dungeon. We're here for that one guy. You want that guy. So, it's time to get some revenge on the old camp and show them just how powerful you really are. You could kill everyone, including Gomez. Be careful with him though. He has a sword that is second only to yours and is very bulky. Anyways, head into the guardhouse and down the stairs in the back to the right. You'll run into an old friend. Remember this guy? No? Well, let's give you a refresher.
Welcome to the colony.
Oh man. This has been a long time coming, and now it's time for some sweet, sweet payback.
I've got good news. You see, there's no need to wonder where your god is, because he's right here, and he's fresh out of mercy.
After striking him down with the power of a Teutonic god, searching around down here, you'll find a smith named Stone. He was locked up down here because he was against the revolt and the raid on the free mine. Once you free him, and he walks back to his forge, you can ask him to improve your armor to its final form. This is the best armor in the game, improved or armor. You have the best armor, you have the best weapon. It's time to finish this fight. No ulumulu needed, as the orcs cannot kill you anymore. Your armor is too powerful. When you started this adventure, you were nobody. Now, you're the baddest motherfucker alive. Head down to the shamans in the orc town, retrieve the orc figurine atop the pillar using a telekinesis scroll you have from Lester way back when, open the gate, and enter the finale. So, it's as I'm writing this script that I realize something extremely unfortunate. The footage leading up to the final confrontation of the game is corrupted, and I only have footage of the boss fight. So, instead of giving my final thoughts before the final confrontation, I will do it after. So you re-enter the temple and get back to that orc you couldn't kill before. Well, now with Eurytziel, you can kill him. Take his loot too. Hopefully you picked up all 5 swords from all 5 shamans, because you're gonna need them to beat the final boss. After that, you'll make your way up some stairs, kill some Templars before Zardis teleports in. And he tells you that your final confrontation is with the Sleeper himself. And due to the magical nature of your armor, you can resist his curse. Something that even he, in all his power, cannot. As he's speaking, Zardis succumbs to a curse from which he cannot wake until the Sleeper is defeated. There's lots of loot in here and no enemies, so loot it all, drink all your stat buff potions, and descend into the final chamber. I have to admit, the first time I played this to this point, I was so hyped for what was to come. If I adjust the colors a bit, you could see that the Sleeper looks like a giant mine crawler. Actually, it was pretty shocking to see that the Sleeper was indeed a giant mine crawler, rather than any other monster in the game, so honestly, he could have just been some generic demon. But no, they leaned into the creativity and decided to make him a mine crawler. And I think the game is better for it. I had no idea what to expect, as I had painstakingly progressed through this game with minimal walkthrough and got here. And you're thinking, what could they possibly do to finish off this incredible experience? A frustratingly broken fight is what. I get stun locked by Kor Kalam as he spams an attack that locks me in place. Like literally, this fight should take 10 minutes tops. But I had to use console commands, Marvin mode as it's called in Gothic, to break free from this shit. Like literally, it's either that or I play a war of attrition and wait him out. It's not like he could kill me. Clearly he's spamming this attack and I'm taking no damage from him. Everything else in this fight can hurt me, but not him. Who knows how long it'd take to wait him out? I read that some people had waited more than 25 minutes before throwing in the towel. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Even with console commands, it's still all BS. My skeletons that I summoned didn't even help me fight anything. Completely useless. Well, assuming you don't have this issue, kill everything in here. Watch out for the Sleeper as he will periodically shoot fireballs at you that deal decent damage. You need to take the 5 swords from the 5 shamans and stab one into each of the heart chambers that are between each set of stairs up to him. Every time you stab a heart, a demon lord will spawn, and after you stab all 5 hearts, it's over.
When the sleeper was banished into his own dimension, I returned to daylight. The magic barrier had fallen. But for me, the adventure had only just begun.
So, my final thoughts on the game. Maybe it's not as magical and flawless as I originally thought. There is certainly frustrating aspects of the game, and unbalanced sections, and a rushed ending. But do I feel that ruins the game? No. And I think nowadays, people often focus too much on the parts that are lacking in a video game and don't stop and think about the things that are good about the video game. Devs are pressured constantly to release immaculate, perfect games every time, otherwise their customers aren't going to buy it. And this is an extremely toxic mindset to have. On the other side of the coin, nowadays, big development companies that we have grown to love and have earned our trust now give release dates that are unrealistic for the visions that they have for their game. I think that the personal climate around gaming is why things like Gothic go undiscovered. Gothic is still a unique and exciting experience from an older era of RPGs, despite its flaws. Its difficulty comes from the player's lack of experience, not stat numbers being skewed one way or the other. And it becomes easier as you learn more and more about this cruel colony. It's absolutely worth playing even nowadays. A true hidden gem of a time gone by. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is my first YouTube video, and I had a great time making it. I hope those of you that stayed till the end enjoyed the experience. If not, hey, that's okay. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If enough people like the video, I'll probably do one on Gothic 2. And even better news, the remake drops on June 5th. I will absolutely be buying it and giving it a full playthrough. Probably on stream as well. With that being said, I've been Extraventrous. Be kind to one another, and I'll see you next time.